Welcome to iLecture Online. Now here, this begins to be a little bit more interesting. The reason for that is because we have two variables in the same x direction. We call them x1 and x2, so those are called generalized variables. And because there's two variables, we're going to be looking for two independent equations of motion. So we're trying to find the equations of motion. Notice the plural here, there's going to be two of them because there are two objects that are going to be moving in independent ways. And so we have to determine that independently. And the Lagrangian is just perfect for something like that. So what we need to do then is find the kinetic energy of the system, find the potential energy of the system, and then we have to use this technique here, the Lagrangian technique, in order to find the two equations. So we'll have to take each variable, x1 and x2, separately. All right, so let's first find the kinetic energy of the system. And the kinetic energy of the system is going to be equal to 1/2. That's not a very good 2 there. 1/2 mv1 squared plus 1/2 mv2 squared. Now, how do we express that in terms of the variable x1 and x2? Well, for the first one, that's fairly straightforward. We could simply replace v1 by x1 dot. It'll be the, but can we? Because remember, this is attached to this mass right here, and it can be moving as well. Well, it turns out we can go ahead and isolate it that way first. So what we can do is we have to worry more about the potential energy of the springs. I think we're okay with just using the variable x1 and x2. So let's try that. So this would be equal to 1/2 m x1 dot squared plus 1/2 m, and that would be x2 dot squared, because essentially the kinetic energy of each object depends upon the motion relative to its equilibrium point, which is defined by the distance away from the equilibrium point, and that can be defined by the variables x1 and x2. But now for the potential energy. The potential energy is going to be equal to the potential energy of this spring right here, and that's going to be 1/2 k times the compressed or elongated distance. Now notice, when x1 moves to the right and x2 doesn't move, stays in its place, and of course it's simply going to be x1 distance squared. But if this mass moves to the right and x1 goes to the right, and then this mass moves to the right as well, we have to take the difference of the positions to understand how much this has been elongated. So in that case, we end up with x1 minus x2 quantity squared. And that will be the potential energy for this spring. Now for this spring, it's only going to be the elongation of this spring caused by this one right here. So that's going to be plus 1/2 k, and that will be x2 squared. What we could do in this case is we could multiply this one out. If you want, we can leave it like that and multiply it out. So let's multiply it out and see what it looks like. Potential energy is equal to 1/2 k times x1 squared minus 2x1 x2 plus x2 squared, like this. And then plus 1/2 k x sub 2 squared. So we could write it like that or keep it like that, whatever makes most sense when we start applying the Lagrangian to it. Now we need to find the Lagrangian, and the Lagrangian is defined as being the kinetic energy minus the potential energy. So the kinetic energy was defined right here, so that's going to be the quantity 1/2 m x1 dot squared plus 1/2 m x2 dot squared. And then we subtract from that the potential energy. And let's leave it like this for now, so we'll write it as 1/2 k times x1 minus x2 quantity squared and plus 1/2 k x2 squared, like that. And of course we're subtracting both of those, so the both will become negative. All right, now we have the Lagrangian. Now we're going to set up the equations of motion, and yes, there's going to be two equations, so we'll have to do it twice. So let's do it for x1. So this is for x1, and let's do it a second time for x2. And so what we need to do is find the partial derivative of L with respect to x dot 1. So the partial derivative of L with respect to x dot, so 1, is equal to, and so we'll look at this right here, and notice we do have an x1 dot here, but this one simply will then be taken as a constant, so we don't have to worry about it. The partial derivative of that goes to 0. So here we get 2 times 1/2, which is 1 times m x1 dot. So we have m x1 dot. That's the partial derivative with respect to x1 dot. And notice all of this here, there's no x1 dots there, so that is it. That's the end of our partial derivative with respect to x1 dot. And then we take the time derivative of that, so the ddt of the partial of L with respect to x1 dot is equal to mx1 double dot. There should be a 1 here. There we go. All right, essentially ma. And then if we take the partial derivative of L with respect to x, now notice there's no x here, but there's x's over here. And again, only for x1. So that means we're going to do the partial derivative of L with respect to x1. And let's see here, so this all goes to 0, that goes to 0, the part here goes to 0. Now, would it be easier to look at it this way or to look at it this way? Maybe like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this portion that contains an x1 there, an x1 there. So the first one is a partial derivative with respect to x1 of this quantity. So we get 2 times 1/2, which is 1, k x1 to the first power. So we get k x1 to the first power. And then if we take 1/2 k times this, notice the minus 2 times the 1/2, that becomes 1, k x1 x2, so we take the derivative of this with respect to x1, so that becomes 1, so it becomes minus k x2, minus k x2. So if you can't see it, you may want to do it on the side, but again, we have 1/2 k times a minus 2, that would be a minus k, times x1 x2. We take the partial derivative with respect to x1, so we simply get the coefficients k and x2, and it is, let's see here, and the minus, yeah, we can't forget the minus. All right, so now we have that. Now we can write this quantity right here. So that means that this can be now replaced by mx double dot, and this is x1 double dot, minus the partial of L with respect to that, respect to x1, so we get minus kx1 plus kx2, and that equals 0. And this here would then be the equation of motion of our system for mass 1, the first mass right here. So this would be mass 1, mass 2. Notice they have the same mass. Maybe in the future we'll do one where k and k is not the same for both and m is not the same for both, so we'll leave that for later. But notice that this is the equation of motion for this mass right here and relative to the variable x1. So now we need to do the same thing for x2. So we take the partial derivative of the Lagrangian with respect to x2 dot, which is equal to, so now we come over here and notice that this will be a constant, so therefore that goes to 0. Here we get 2 times 1/2, which is 1 times m x2 dot. So it would be m x2 dot. Then we take the time derivative of that, of the partial of the Lagrangian with respect to x2 dot. And that will be the derivative with respect to time for this one. That gives us m x2 double dot. And now we need to find the partial derivative of the Lagrangian with respect to x2. And notice that all these go to 0. And this doesn't go to 0. So we have to now consider this part right here with only the x2 variables. The x1 variable will go to 0. And then we have another x2 variable there. All right, so let's do that. So this is equal to, this goes to 0. Here we end up with minus 2 times 1/2. That gives us 1 times k x1, because x2 is now the variable. So that would be minus k x1. And for this one here, we'll end up with 2 times 1/2, which is 1, k times x2. And finally over here we end up with 2 times 1/2, which is 1 times kx2. And of course this can be written as minus k1, okay, I'm a little ahead of myself, kx1 plus 2 kx2. And now we can write this expression in terms of our second variable. So we take this quantity right here, we end up with mx2 double dot minus this quantity right here. A minus times a minus gives us a plus, so minus times that is plus kx1, and a minus times this gives us a minus 2kx2, and that equals 0. And there's the equation of the second mass in the system. Now this particular type of problem would be very difficult to solve using the typical F equals ma approach, the Newton's second law approach, but you can see when you use the Lagrangian, even though it's a fair amount of work, it is readily available to you to easily find the two equations of motions for mass 1 and mass 2, even though they're the same mass and k is the same for both springs. But anyway, this is how you find a relatively quick solution and easily done using the Lagrangian.